He ruled the most powerful empire on earth. And every morning he woke up expecting the worst. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, a man who could end lives with a word. But every single day he did something that most powerful people never do. He reminded himself that he was going to die, that he would lose everything, that nothing he had was guaranteed. And that's exactly what kept him sane while everyone else around him was losing their minds. So, here's the question. What did he actually do every day that made him different? What were the habits that kept him steady when the whole world was falling apart? Let's go back. About 2,000 years ago. Rome is massive, unstoppable, and Marcus is at the top of it all. But being emperor wasn't what people think. It wasn't luxury and parties and doing whatever you want. It was constant pressure, constant decisions, constant threats, wars on multiple fronts, plagues killing thousands, betrayals, assassinations, political chaos, natural disasters, and everyone expected him to have all the answers, to never break, to stay strong no matter what. Most people in that position would crack. The stress alone would destroy them. But Marcus didn't crack. He stayed calm. He stayed clear. He made good decisions even when everything around him was chaos. How? Because he had a system. A set of daily habits that kept him grounded. And these weren't complicated. They were simple, almost too simple. But they worked. First habit. He started every morning with a mental rehearsal of the day ahead. Not planning what he wanted to happen, planning for what would go wrong. He'd literally tell himself, "Today you're going to meet liars, betrayers, people who are selfish and cruel, people who will disappoint you. Things will not go the way you want them to." Why would he do that? Why start the day expecting problems? Because when you expect things to go wrong, you're not shocked when they do, you're prepared. You stay calm. You don't waste energy being surprised or upset. You just deal with it. Most people do the opposite. They expect everything to go perfectly. And then, when reality hits, when people let them down, when plans fall apart, they lose it. They get angry, frustrated, bitter. Marcus knew better. He knew that life doesn't care about your expectations. So he set his expectations at reality. And reality includes problems. This wasn't pessimism. This was preparation. And it gave him a massive advantage. While everyone else was reacting emotionally to setbacks, he was already 3 steps ahead because he'd mentally prepared for them. Second habit, he wrote. Every single night, no matter how tired he was, no matter how brutal the day had been, he sat down and wrote. Not for anyone else, just for himself. Reminders, lessons, things he needed to remember, questions he needed to ask himself, harsh truths he needed to hear. That's what became his meditations. The book everyone reads today. But he never meant for anyone to read it. It was his way of talking to himself, of keeping himself accountable, of processing everything that happened. And here's why this mattered. When you write, you clarify. When you put thoughts on paper, you can see them clearly. You can spot your own lies, your own excuses, your own patterns. Marcus used writing as a mirror, a way to see himself honestly. And that's rare. Most people never look at themselves honestly. They make excuses, they blame others, they avoid the hard truths. But Marcus forced himself to face them, every night, in writing, where he couldn't hide. Third habit, he practiced negative visualization. Every day, he'd imagine losing everything. His power, his wealth, his family, his life. He'd sit there and really feel it. Really picture it. What if you lost the throne today? What if this was your last day alive? What if everyone you love was gone tomorrow? Most people think this is depressing. Why would you torture yourself like that? But here's what it actually does. It makes you grateful. It makes you present. It stops you from taking things for granted. When you remember that everything is temporary, you appreciate what you have right now. You stop wasting time on petty problems. You stop getting worked up about things that don't actually matter. Marcus would look at his children and remember they were mortal. He'd enjoy the moment with them instead of being distracted. He'd look at his position as emperor and remember it was temporary, so he used it wisely instead of abusing it. This habit kept him humble. It kept him focused. It kept him from becoming the kind of emperor who loses touch with reality and destroys everything. Fourth habit, he constantly questioned his own judgments. Before making decisions, before reacting to situations, he'd ask himself, is this actually bad, or does it just seem bad? Most of what stresses us out isn't actually bad. It's just uncomfortable. It's just not what we wanted. It's just different from our expectations. Marcus knew this. So he'd stop and ask, is this thing actually harmful, or am I just making it worse in my mind? Someone insults you. Is that actually bad, or is it just their opinion? Does their opinion actually hurt you, or are you choosing to be hurt by it? You lose money. Is that actually a disaster, or is it just a setback? Can you recover? Will this matter in 5 years? This habit saved him from so much unnecessary suffering. Because most suffering is optional. Most of what we stress about isn't actually destroying us. We're destroying ourselves by how we interpret it. Fifth habit. He focused on what he could control and ignored everything else. Every single day, multiple times a day, he'd remind himself of this. You can't control what other people do. You can't control the weather. You can't control the past. You can't control outcomes. But you can control your effort, your attitude, your response, your character. And Marcus kept bringing his attention back to that. Anytime he started stressing about things outside his control, he'd catch himself and redirect. Back to what he could actually do. Back to what actually mattered. This one habit probably saved his sanity more than anything else. Because, when you're emperor, everyone expects you to control everything. Fix everything. Solve everything. And if you buy into that, if you think it's your job to control the uncontrollable, you'll destroy yourself trying. Marcus didn't fall into that trap. He did what he could and let go of the rest. Sixth habit. He practiced gratitude. Not fake positivity. Real gratitude. For simple things. For being alive. For having another day. For having breath in his lungs and the ability to think clearly. Even in the middle of wars, even when everything was going wrong, he'd find something to appreciate. And that kept him from drowning in negativity. Because here's the truth. Your brain will focus on whatever you train it to focus on. If you only look for problems, you'll only see problems. If you practice seeing what's working, what's good, what's worth appreciating, you'll see that too. Marcus chose to see both. He didn't ignore problems, but he didn't ignore blessings either. And that balance kept him sane. Now, let's bring this to your life. Because you're not running an empire, but you're dealing with your own version of chaos, your own stress, your own pressure, and the same habits that kept Marcus steady can keep you steady to. Start your day expecting problems. Not to be negative, but to be prepared. When you know things will go wrong, you're not thrown off when they do. You handle it and move on. Right, every night. Even just a few sentences. What happened today? What did I learn? What do I need to remember? What am I grateful for? This keeps you honest with yourself. It keeps you processing instead of just reacting. Practice negative visualization. Not to be depressed, but to stay grateful. Imagine losing what you have. Really feel it. Then open your eyes and appreciate that you still have it. This stops you from taking everything for granted. Question your judgments. Before you stress out, ask yourself, is this actually bad, or does it just feel bad? Most of what bothers us isn't actually harmful. We're just uncomfortable. And discomfort isn't disaster. Focus on what you control. Your effort, your attitude, your response. Stop wasting energy on things you can't change. Redirect that energy to things you can. Practice gratitude. Find something to appreciate every single day. Even when things are hard. Especially when things are hard. This keeps your mind balanced. It keeps you from spiraling into darkness. These aren't complicated habits. They're simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. It takes discipline to do them every day. It takes commitment to stick with them when you don't feel like it. But that's exactly what Marcus did. He didn't just think about these ideas, he lived them. Every single day. No excuses. No exceptions. And that's what made him different. That's what kept him sane while ruling an empire that was constantly on the edge of collapse. He didn't have special powers. He didn't have some secret advantage. He just had discipline. He had habits. He had a system that kept him grounded in reality instead of lost in illusion. You can build the same system, starting today. Starting right now, you don't need to be emperor. You just need to be consistent. Because the habits that kept Marcus Aurelius steady through wars and plagues and betrayals are the same habits that will keep you steady through whatever you're refacing. It's not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's about staying grounded. It's about remembering what actually matters and letting go of everything else. Marcus did it 2,000 years ago, and it still works today. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom you can actually use.